You're listening to Drinks and a Movie with your host, Rudy. Spoiler alert.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Do you have it in you to make it epic?
All right, here we go. Rolling Drinks and Movie podcast. I'm back with co-host Matt.
Hello.
Sorry.
I was trying to think of some clever, stupid ass thing to say, and I got nothing, folks. So sorry.
Today we're going to be talking about the latest George Miller film that came out probably a month ago now. This is Furiosa, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth in what I think is a really great role. Before that, we're going to get into, the drink for this movie, and I'm very excited.
Hell yeah.
This is a bottle I've been waiting to try for so long. We've got Pursuit United finally. So I was in Owensboro, Kentucky lately, going to a bunch of stores, and I've been wanting to get a Pursuit United bottle, and I finally got one. This is the double oaked bourbon coming in at 108 proof. So there were some options, man. And I really was like, I should get a rye and or a bourbon. I wanted to buy like 4 of these things, but I can't go spending like too much money. And I already made some other purchases while I was out there.
The life of a collector.
Yeah. So I asked one of the store guys, I was like, hey man, of these, like for sure, I'm going to walk away with one. I'm leaning towards the rye. Is there one in particular you recommend? And he was like, for sure, the double oak. And I don't remember. He told me a whole thing about it. I guess there's not that many of them floating around. And supposedly this one was a store pick that was supposed to go to another store that was nearby, but it went to them by accident.
The hell?
Or yeah, something. I don't even remember. But I've heard really good things about this. He was saying good things about it. And I was like, all right, I'll take your word for it. I'll get this one. And sure enough, when I went back 2 days later, they were sold out.
Oh, geez.
So he was right. And another store was also sold out of it. So I'm glad that clearly he was on something.
Oh, yeah. Has it been challenging to just find it in any store, or has the challenge been the price point, or what's been like?
We don't get these in California, at least yet. Okay. So I believe the only way we can get them is if we order it through Sealbox, sealbox.com. Okay. Because I remember asking them at one point over Instagram, does anyone have them out here? And they mentioned that Sealbox. So I've always meant to order one, but I never got around to it. Sure. And so this was actually like when I went to Kentucky, besides the Nelson Bros distillery, this was my like primary target was I'm going to get one of these. And every store had them. I do wish I could have got another bottle, but we have this for now. But anyway, so if you're not familiar with Pursuit United, especially because we can't get it out here.
I'm not.
So this is a brand made by the hosts of the Bourbon Pursuit podcast, which is like the pretty much definitive bourbon podcast. I listen to it all the time. I'm sure I've shared some links with you.
Yeah.
I know I've shared some with Chris on like some topics that I think are really interesting. They've been doing it for quite a few years now. They talk to like all the master distillers and tasters. They do quick reviews. And I guess after a while, like a few years ago now, several years ago, they decided to start their own brand. So they're blenders. So they're not like distilling this, but they go and they partner with to get barrels and with different distilleries, and they do like really good blends. And I haven't heard a single bad thing about any of their product. I guess they're just like real badasses at doing it. I think their names are Dan and Kenny, I want to say. Kenny and Ryan, sorry. Yeah, so Kenny and Ryan became whiskey authorities through a decade of interviews and insider access. Now they're shaking up the industry, partnering with distilleries to blend award-winning whiskeys for the adventurous drinker, uniting the best characteristics from different distilleries, mash bills, and barrels into one fine bottle. So yeah, man, I'm really stoked on this. I'll read a little bit about this one off their website. So Pursuit United Double Oak Bourbon, rich and nostalgic flavor. The double oak finishing process starts with Pursuit United, a signature bourbon blend. I'm not sure what that is exactly, which undergoes a lengthy secondary finish, usually custom 36-month seasoned French oak medium toasted staves. This extra maturation extracts bold oak notes while imparting a deep amber hue and velvety mouthfeel, coming in at 108 proof.
I can't remember the last time or how often I've had a 108. That's such a interesting number. That's not a number I see very often on a bottle.
Probably like the Jim Beam single barrel. Yeah, that was like a year or two ago. Let's see. So this was distilled in Kentucky, Tennessee, and New York.
Oh, wow.
So which Tennessee distillery could possibly be in here? And then blended and bottled by, Pursuit Spirits in Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, here we go.
So when it's something like those guys, would they be considered the they're the people who put it together. Like they tasted all these and kept trying to blend to those two guys.
specifically. So they get like different barrels and juice from different distilleries, and they just figure it out and
super interesting.
Blend them together. But besides the blending, I guess they do like the stave thing too. So they might blend something, but then they'll put it, a secondary barrel with now French oak staves that are in there to do a whole other flavor.
So
they have another, like, besides the
fun process.
Bourbon Pursuit podcast, they do another podcast called Behind the Pursuit, which is all about the brand. So in that one they talk, and I don't listen to it. I probably should. I've listened to a couple episodes, but that one is like specifically about like the brand and their whole experience doing it, like how they do the work. They talk about like marketing and challenges and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, here we go.
Pursuit United.
I just got cocoa right off the bat.
Cocoa.
It's hard for me to pick out anything besides that.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit of your cocoa, but I'm gonna sneeze.
Yeah, to be honest, bless you. To be honest, for me, I'm getting like, it's not strong, but mainly like the ethanol coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what
maybe I should have poured it a little bit earlier, but it has been. I poured it like before or when we started recording, so it's like been open for 7 minutes.
And when I say that, by the way, that's not a negative. Okay, that's that means it's at a proof that I'm gonna actually probably get a chance to taste some things. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going in. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm going to reserve until I go for my second one. I got a lot of the heat up front. That's why I want to give it a second to.
Oh, man, here's something. So I learned this at the Nelson Bros tour. And you may have noticed I kept doing it. When you take your sip and you swallow it, if you do like a really like big sigh like that, even more that you got to go like deep. Yeah, like that. You should start to pick up more flavors around the whole palate, like right after you swallow it.
Okay.
So maybe on your second sip, try that.
Let's try it again. Why not?
I thought it was interesting because I never heard that before. And I've talked to a lot of like, people that are way more in the tasting than I am. And our tour guide said that. And I was like, oh shit. Like, yeah, you really like,
you do
so much more like comes out around the whole mouth.
That's wild. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Why have we not been doing this before?
Yeah.
I got a lot more flavor on the second drink too. So you said cocoa. I feel like I'm getting a little caramel up front, but I might be totally wrong on that. There's something there.
I get a ton of caramel. I think it's a massive caramel.
Gotcha. Okay. Just make it.
Definitely. The cocoa is more on the nose, but I get a little bit of that, like a little bit of a cinnamon.
Oh, definitely get the cinnamon. Yeah.
But
is
it's just good, a little bit.
It's not a lot. That's tasty.
That's good. That is bold too. That's a good bold pour. I've heard some folks refer to this as like a massive butterscotch caramel bomb. Like that's the big like
butterscotch.
Really
that's the other one I was getting. There was something else there, and I was going to say something candy, but it's butterscotch. That's what it is. By the way, have you ever heard this before? Butterscotch is like you're a dad. That's dad candy. You ever heard that?
Really? I've never heard that.
Apparently, you're an older person if you like butterscotch. So
interesting, because I love butterscotch.
Freaking A.
Yeah,
totally, man. Go figure. I mean, I already knew I was an old person, but
that's good. Now, like on that third sip or fourth sip, whatever that was, I get more of an oak presence, man. That's good. That's just good.
It's just good, yeah.
Good bourbon, like definitely with the caramel and the butterscotch, a little bit of the cocoa, still cinnamon. That time, I had a little more of an oak influence to kind of balance that out.
The third sip has been the best by far. Yeah. I'm like getting so much more now. It's surrounding my tongue right now, literally.
Yeah, it is. It is a good texture. It's viscous. I do get that velvety mouthfeel, like it kind of set on the back. Yeah, that's a good pour. Damn. Okay. I really wish I could have got more of the bottles to like side by side. But I'll just have to order one. Hey. Like I'll just have to do it. I just don't want to like, it's like shipping and tax and all that extra stuff. But yeah, I think this was around like $69.99, maybe $79.99 somewhere.
Okay, that's shocking. I thought this was like 150 or something.
No, it was somewhere in that 60 to 80 realm.
Dude. Hell yeah, it's a good pour.
Yeah, man, I'm just stoked to have it finally.
Damn. I wonder why they don't sell to California. Do they have a reasoning or?
No, I think it's just like distribution. Just haven't
probably
gotten
expensive.
it there. Yeah,
for sure.
I'm sure eventually it'll make its way because it's still fairly new.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's only been a few years.
Oh wow,
yeah, it's pretty new. Yeah, and I think it's just like these guys doing it. Right. Like they just went and started their. I mean, I'm sure there's more of a team behind it, but it seems like it's very much them. And I think outside of this in the podcast, I'm pretty sure just from listening to them that they still have like their other jobs outside of it.
Oh man.
And like family, like families and shit.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, props to anyone who's able to like manage all of that stuff,
That's pretty awesome. So like it's a passion project. That's I know it's freaking corny to say that, but you can kind of tell this has some real thought behind it, you know? And
it's people that really care about what they're doing.
Yes,
and want to create something good.
I had no idea that this was the story behind them, but you could it's so weird to say that you can taste that in a taste, but you really can. Like, you can tell that this is, I can also tell, yes, somebody has taken the time to get to this endpoint here, which I think is awesome. And I got to tell you, man, I guess I like double oaks. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Does it say like how long they keep it in each barrel or anything, or no?
Not what I saw on the website.
I mean, that's part of the secret sauce, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like that's got to be part of it.
You can probably, we can probably dive and find it. They probably mention it at some point.
Sagamore told you on the tour, they tell you how long, and I don't remember the exact times, but it's because it's somewhat of an approximation too. Like, there's some not exactly exact math going on, but that's pretty cool, man. It's great.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Cheers to them. Jeez.
Yep. All right, man. Furiosa.
Furiosa! We've come too far. Furiosa! They took Furiosa!
As a child, my world was forever changed. My mother was magnificent. And he took it all from me.
Who do we have here?
She's from a place of abundance.
This is our destiny.
My childhood, my mother, I want them back. I want them back! Whatever you have to do.
However long it takes. Promise you'll find your way home. Protect the green place.
It's time to take what's rightfully ours. Ready? Steady? Go! Where are you going? So full of hope. There is no hope.
There will always be war, but to get home, Furiosa fought the world.
Also, while I was in Kentucky, I saw that movie opening night after I went to the store and bought this.
Is it? I mean, it's going to be kind of tough to talk about this without talking about the trailer, right? Like, because you see the trailer of this film and you can't help but have some preconceived notions, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So that is a good place to start. Yeah, that's a really good place to start. Yeah, the trailer dropped and I remember being very underwhelmed in specifically because of the CGI just not being up to par.
It looked like a Marvel movie with George Miller's stylistic thing. And when I say that is that for essentially some of the Star Wars movies and a lot of the Marvel movies, they're these animated films that are populated by real people, and by the way, sometimes that works great. Avatar, it's perfect because you're in Avatar world, or Tron, you're in Tron world, like these places that are created that are not of this world, But in George Miller's case, he has established a place and a world that exists in our minds so vividly with 4 films that you can't avoid that baggage when going into this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if you're a Chris Hemsworth or an Anya Taylor-Joy fan, you can't, even if you're going for them, you can't ignore what has come before that.
Yes.
So like yourself, I'm like, I'm going to be blunt. And George, I love you. I don't think you're listening to this podcast, but I do love you. I looked at the show, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Literally looked at like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I remember like texting people about it after, and I was like, oh no, I'm really worried about this. And Chris actually shared an article with me that came out like very soon after that trailer did that talked, because everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, that's like, how did you ignore
it's
it?
not just us. Like everyone's like, what the hell is up with the CGI? And I don't remember the article. I need to like dig back in the text messages and read it again. But it came down to like, I guess like just big budget constraints and all that, like with this movie.
So this is the reality of the film industry right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild, man.
Which is, man, it's a shame.
Such a shame.
You would think that at this point, and maybe it's taken too long.
Right.
I mean, it's been 9 years now since Fury Road, which is crazy.
That's wild.
That alone is insane.
I feel like that movie just came out.
9 years already. So, there's that. But you would think that there'd be more money put into it, because not only was Fury Road one of the greatest action movies of all time, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies of all time, possibly. I mean, it swept the Oscars. Like, I think people forget that. It swept a lot of, I think, like 6 or so. And you would think with all of that, it's like, okay, obviously this can make money and it can win awards. Right. So let's keep doing it. Because that's all Hollywood cares about. We know this, right? Like money,
it's a
money and awards. So, and this, just kind of sad. And it does stand out, man. Like watching the movie, it really pulls me out more so than the saxophone and Mad Max 1, and the bulging eyes coming out. Like it really takes me out of the world.
I got to think of it. So there are a couple of times where it didn't ruin the film for me. I'll be honest with you on that one. It didn't. And I think that, so after I had watched the film, I think I texted you. I'm like, did they do this for like safety reasons? One of the things I was thinking about is like in the modern era where unfortunately some people have given their lives for film, that part I can understand that if we can keep it safer by using more visual effects. But the things, and this is actually, so I had this thought when watching Thunderdome. I'm like, some of the things that bugged me about the visual effects this time were the end of the frame, was the landscapes, was the locations that were obviously done with a computer as opposed to in Thunderdome where he built the whole damn thing. And in addition, my understanding is that certain visual effects can look, let me rephrase that. Certain computer effects can look better when you spend more time and more money with them.
Yeah.
And so the more that you say this, the more it makes sense to me that they did this for budgetary reasons. And while I understand that, because I'm one of those people, I'm like, why can't we do these films for like less expensively, so we can make more films. We can get more of them, we can get movies that are great stories and stuff like that. There were times where it took me out too. And mostly the times where it's like, it looks like it's been done by a computer as opposed to, I will tell you, it didn't ruin the overall experience. I still had a great time watching the film. It sounds like it might've taken you out completely.
No, I mean, I was able to still get behind. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I went in kind of knowing, I'm like, all right, I gotta.
So you at least lowered, but you lowered where
I did.
The bar.
Like the expectations were low because of the trailer. I'm just looking at the budget right now. An estimated $168 million. Damn, compared to the $12 million that was Thunderdome.
But I mean, I don't know what Marvel produces at, but I'm sure it's 250 or something like that, a movie, right? 200 million, probably. Something like that. So
I mean, I think wasn't the new Indiana Jones like 400 or something
ridiculous amount.
I remember people talking about how that was like a wildly expensive
and that one
movie.
Bombed, so
well, let me do the synopsis real quick off IMDb. The origin story of renegade warrior Furiosa before her encounter and team up with Mad Max. So first off, I think Furiosa was a great character in Fury Road, and I feel like it was very much like more her movie than it was Max's.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Like Max is just kind of there to help out. Just like in Road Warrior, it's like and even Thunderdome to an extent, he's just kind of wandering around and he gets pulled into like adventures and he has to like help somebody accomplish their goal.
Totally. Yes, exactly.
So it's very much that. And I think that story was told well. And I remember reading years ago that, he's going to do a Furiosa movie. We're going to get not only another Mad Max movie, which sounds like it might not even happen anymore because this hasn't been doing well at the box office.
Yeah.
Is a lot of like what should be blockbuster movies have not been doing well.
Yes. We're in a
recently.
tough time for Hollywood films.
It's pretty crazy. But I still felt, I'm like, I don't know. Do we need the backstory necessarily? Like, do we need a prequel? I mean, how did you feel about that? Or were you hyped on like, I want to see where she came from and all that?
That's interesting. I'd actually, you know what, to be honest with you, it didn't register to me. In that part, needing like an origin story, didn't really care too much.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time in this world. And especially if George Miller's telling it.
Yeah.
That's the things that I reacted to. So when we talked about the trailer, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, God damn it. At the same time, I literally did my best to reserve any sort of judgment until I saw the film, because I'm like, I also know that George Miller makes kids films. He made Happy Feet, he's an interesting filmmaker who has a diaspora of different films. Like he's not just Mad Max,
Yeah.
So like that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see it. It's also, it's casting some really interesting people in some of the roles and things like that. So like, that's the whole thing. I'm like, I'm going to reserve judgment until I saw it. And so I tried to go with, and it was tough. It's tough to move your mind outside of some of those views because of what we saw in Fury Road. If Fury Road hadn't have happened, probably wouldn't have cared.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. But because we have Fury Road, that's like the bar, maybe the greatest action movie of all time. I mean, George, you fucked yourself on that one, buddy.
Yeah, like it needs to get better.
Right. Why are we going to the movie? It's not going to be better. But that being said, that's why I actually found this movie really kind of interesting, because it really goes in a different direction. I mean, there are some chase scenes just like in any Mad Max movie. At the same time, I really found it interesting digging into actually some of the characters and why they end up the way that they do. So
yeah, I
actually dug that part.
I do. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can.
There's chapters. I mean, we could do. I mean, but I think they're okay. So we get the info for the stuff that I got to be honest, I didn't really care about too much. But it's nice that we know. We know why she lost her arm. We know why we got a cameo with Max for a quick moment.
Yeah.
We understand why some of the things happen in the world that they do. At the same time, I felt like that part, a lot of that was just irrelevant to the story of her and how she ends up. What's the motivation that makes her want to escape? Imperative? What's something Joe?
Immortan Joe.
Immortan Joe. Thank you. Immortan Joe. And I that part I actually did find kind of interesting, because I think the Immortan Joe is kind of a pretty fascinating character to begin with. We still don't have an origin story on Joe.
Yeah.
We've seen him in 3 different movies. So,
It is, I mean, I do kind of like this story idea of it is just her trying to get home, and this whole quest and kind of the tragedy of everything going wrong. Like on all her attempts, it just keeps not working out, but she's going to dedicate her whole life, her whole being to escaping. And I wonder if watching Fury Road now, well, this is the thing. This is where I don't know that having this information and seeing this movie, for me, I think for most people it probably will, but for me, makes the impact of her in Fury Road get it. Because remember, they get there and it's like, oh, it's gone. It's not here anymore. And there's that shot where she drops to her knees in the sand. And
they even remind us at the end of the movie.
Like that should, at this point, I should be able to watch Fury Road and that should hit way harder now.
Have a ton more weight.
Yeah, but I don't know that it does or would, to be honest, but I might be in the minority there.
No, I think you're right. Or I'm sorry, I had a similar experience, and that might be one of those points because some of the utopia looked a little fake, right? That's where it gets into that struggling zone. It's interesting. The one thing I did have some weight to was the people. Seeing Furiosa's mother, I don't know if it's her birth mother or not, but the person who's, is the mother, that stuff did add some weight. It made me start thinking about all those people that Furiosa bumps into in Fury Road when she gets to the Oasis, those older folks with the guns and stuff. That part actually connected with me. And I'm wondering is the people real? They're not VFX people. I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons I had the weight to that. I haven't watched Fury Road since watching Furiosa. It makes me want to, but I haven't. And I'm wondering if that's part of that could, for me, maybe. Things have to have weight, and because of some of the computer graphic stuff, some of the stuff didn't have the weight that it might normally have, like we saw in Fury Road. Or Road Warrior, or even Thunderdome. Thunderdome, man, all those things, those are real things, man.
Yeah, right.
So they have weight in front of a lens, on screen. So.
Yeah, even I like the pursuit of the mother trying to get her back,
so great,
picking off the guys one at a time, and they have to
she's a fucking badass.
Yeah, and they have to take the tires and the gas, scrap all the materials before they can continue on.
I love that chick. Oh, she's so relentless. She's awesome.
Yeah, and I do love and they're so one track mind, right? Yeah. Of these people, no matter what, whether you live or die, these people cannot live. Whatever happens to you is secondary to these people not knowing where to find us.
Yes.
And that you buy that very quickly.
Totally.
Even in Furiosa, and you can tell that this whole, clan of Oasis people are all survivors and they all have that ingrained in them. Because even Furiosa, to the point of, going and cutting the fuel and doing
she
whatever
knows.
like shit, like cutting the shit and taking
Cutting
the
it
dude's
with
knife
the
when
teeth
she
by the-
while she's on the motorcycle, like for who knows how long. Like they all know, and they're all so survivalist that, you know, they're willing to go that far. But yeah, it's like at the same time, rough CGI and visual effects that when the dudes are getting picked off and this and that are happening, and I don't feel that they're in the real environment. Whereas, yeah, like Road Warrior, when they're driving down the fucking street or in the sand, and even when they're walking through the sand dunes in Thunderdome,
man.
it's like I see that it's real. I see it. Like
Yes.
it's a whole different vibe.
And I have, by the way, seen CG that is absolutely convincing.
Yes,
Like without it, Forrest Gump is still a great example of like, you totally buy everything you see in that film. And at the same time, like, I agree with you, man, that the tangibility of the weight to it, the folks on the Beyond the Screenplay podcast refer to it as bouncy. Like there's something to the effects that is bouncy, you know, it's like, it doesn't have the weight of the real world. And I'd rather have this story than not have it. So like my brain goes to, okay, we get this great story, which by the way is worth it to be told. At the same time, those little things just take you out of it.
Yeah. I do think overall this movie did not need to be 2.5 hours though.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I was like, this is a long movie. And I don't mind. I know some people had a problem with this. I don't mind that so much of the movie, I feel like most of the movie is her as a kid before we even get
There
to
is
Anya
a
Taylor.
lot of, I didn't look at my watch, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of her as a kid.
It's got to be at least a third of it, if not half, maybe a third. A fair amount. Like you wouldn't think it would last that long.
Definitely chapters 1 and 2. So.
Yeah. But I do like that. And I think all of that is good. Like the introduction of Dementis, her getting passed on to a Morton Joe, and then her kind of escaping that, but having to stay there, but now pose as a boy in order to survive. And then getting promoted. I thought that was interesting, like doing these tasks and like getting promoted and moved up the ranks, and now is like working on the war rig. And like I'm all right, this all makes sense. We're getting there, you know.
In addition to that, one of the things I really this is a good time. I think the performances are actually like all top notch in this film. I didn't even notice that the actor had changed from kid Furiosa to adult Furiosa, and I think that's a testament to the acting on both of their parts. They were just the seamless quality of it, and that a lot of their motivation and their reactions and the way they exist in the world seem consistent from chapter to chapter to chapter, which I think was really well done. And I think the thing that kept me going in the film, why I did enjoy it as much. I agree that it could probably be a little bit shorter, but the performances were so good. It's one of the things that really kept me hooked. Like Hemsworth, like almost steals the movie with his character.
Yeah.
You know, so well written, so interestingly written. You're not always like, how on the edge is this guy? I mean, obviously he's willing to do anything to succeed in the world. At the same time, there's something about him that like has maybe just a little bit of sympathy or empathy or something, like longing for his childhood or something or longing for a child, I should say.
That is an aspect of it I really like. Like I had, I think it was one of my coworkers or someone said, like, "Oh, I wish they developed him more and got more into it." And I was like, "Yeah, but the mystery is what makes it interesting and good. Is that you don't know, like
you don't."
It's the same with Humongous and the Road Warrior.
Yeah, good point.
It's like who is this guy? What's his thing? And there's that moment where he opens up the box with his handgun, and there's like a Nazi war medal, and
dude,
like
that was
and it's so and he does, I guess, have like an Austrian accent maybe or something, but it's little seeds like that are so interesting. And even
is that his accent that he's going for?
I thought it was.
Okay, that makes
maybe
sense
not.
actually. Yeah.
But he has like Nazi memorabilia, and there's like a photo of maybe his parents.
I noticed
like
that part. Yeah, that said a lot.
It's super interesting, but that's all you get.
That's all you get. He doesn't say. There's nothing explicit.
Yeah, you never even reveal his face. Nothing. And then even with the Morton Joe,
right?
Like in the Fury Road when they're putting on his like chest piece, or and he has like military medals and shit. It's like. I like that there's mystery to it. And then Dementis, it's just like the teddy bear.
The teddy bear.
And then he'd tell like, oh, I had like, you know, I had a daughter once and all that. And this was her. Like, I think that's so interesting. And we do get we get enough insight to it later because he mentions it again at some point. I think in their final confrontation when he's on his knees. And what I love about it, and also with Furiosa, she doesn't talk much, right?
Yeah.
Anya barely has any lines in this movie. It's very consistent with Max.
Yeah.
In both Road Warrior and Fury Road. Mm-hmm. And when I was listening to that other podcast and they were talking about it, like they didn't like that at all. But to me, I love it. It's totally on brand. And what
it makes you lean in, by the way.
Yeah.
Like you need to pay attention.
Yeah. And also, George Miller said this even with I don't think he accomplished it in the first Mad Max movie, but he talked about it back then. And it's super apparent in both Road Warrior, Fury Road, and even this one, that it's like a silent film. He mentions like Buster Keaton a lot, and there's a lot of like visual reference to that and just stunt work in general. It's like, I want people in other countries to be able to watch the movie and they don't need to fucking know the language. They don't have to read subtitles. You need to be able to watch it and know exactly what's happening.
Totally.
And I think this is another case where he accomplished that for the most part, But all that to say, what's so on brand is all of these people, Dementis, I guess we'll take the Dementis, Furiosa, and Mad Max are all kind of the same person, but they've reacted to it a different way,
Yes,
right?
right. Yeah,
They all
so true.
Okay, Mad Max lost his wife and his kid. Dementis clearly lost his loved ones, but he went a different route. Anya Taylor lost her family, her mom. She's going a certain route. So it's this whole idea of like, and everybody's so close to like being on the edge, of going crazy. Like, which way on that wavelength are you going to fall,
Yeah.
And that's what I love, is that they're all a different take on ultimately the same kind of character. And that's what makes it cool.
I totally agree. And it's, they wouldn't exist. They are also, in addition to that, products of the world. So we have to believe the world and we have to understand the world. And this movie, just like the other ones, expands on that. Like we have to see places we haven't seen in the world yet. So.
They're all survivors.
They're all survivors.
Like Max is just a lone survivor, happens to help people.
Yeah.
It's still for his gain. Furiosa is a survivor. Her goal is just getting home. That's it. And then Dementis, he's a survivor, but he wants power. He wants to be at the top of the food chain, and he's going to do whatever he's got to do that, even if it means sacrificing his own guys.
You just reminded me, speaking of survival, I love when the mom is like hidden at her, kind of towards her end, where she's hidden behind the rock, and she's just wasting everyone. They literally cannot pass through that rock because of her. She's badass in this film. So.
Yeah, no, that was great. Well, the whole thing and just how tactical they are. Like when she
how smart they are.
Puts the other person's shit on and then drives into the town and takes her back and they get out. And man, I love that shot, like Dementis. And there's this whole like Roman Empire thing kind of going on too, where he wants to be the top dog.
I mean, he's driving a fucking chariot.
The chariot, like I think that was cool. And
it was totally wacky.
He has like the white veil, but I love that shot when the red flare goes off in front of them. And there's that shot of them just getting bathed in like the red smoke, and his shit gets dyed, and he just keeps.
I think that's one of the things that kept me smiling during this film is that, okay, so this is our 5th Mad Max movie, and I'd only seen 3. I hadn't seen all of them. I'd only seen 3 of them. But I can still be surprised by the world and surprised by the things that he creates. Like the chariot thing, I literally started laughing the first time I saw it. But then to your point, the flares that go off, the way that their form of justice is different than what we saw on Fury Road, interestingly enough, because the Citadel is its own place. Like that's its own thing that's over there, And so I appreciate that we get to flesh this whole thing out, and it just adds more to the lore or the place. And,
we get to see Gastown. We get to see the
We've heard of Gastown before, but we're actually getting to see how the internals look like and stuff like that. So definitely cool. I
thought that was interesting too. And another thing is with Dementis, how I can't think of another movie. Maybe this has happened before. But what's interesting is, he ends up doing that deal and killing the dude to take over and trading the girl to take over Gastown, right? Then the years go by, and how he's actually like a terrible leader and like ran it into the ground. And now they want to like, they want
he's
him
literally
out
bad at his job.
Yeah, he's like destroyed it and like is ruining everything. And I thought that was, you don't see that. You think it's, he's going to be the big villain. He's going to try to do
inmates are revolting.
The power struggle with the Morton Joe. And even how he tries to pull that on a Morton. And you see that they're on like a whole other level where he's like, dude, you can't do shit to us. Like, you're not. But, he's like, I want that girl because maybe she'll give me a baby later. So sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Take it. And then we'll do.
Leading up to that, one of the things I think had a lot more weight. The first time that Dementis rolls into the Citadel and makes this ridiculous deal from the bottom of the ground first, the first deal that he makes, and then they get destroyed basically. That scene I don't think would have had as much weight had you not seen Fury Road.
Right.
I mean, it's still a great scene, but like having gone through Fury Road, that scene has some weight. You know what these people are capable of, and how they will literally do anything for their leader. You know, so I love that had more weight. because I had seen Fury Road. I thought that part was really cool. And then you finally like, no way, Immortan Joe's going to go for this. But later on, when Dementis does the deal with him, like Immortan Joe's not stupid, but at the same time, he's like, I think he can kind of see the writing on the wall. This guy's kind of a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way this is going to, end up this way. So
Yeah, it's like we can still keep him under our thumb. Like
right. We can still stay in control. Yeah,
keep him close. We keep tabs on this guy. Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, and Chris Hemsworth is great. It's just good to see him play like an off his rockers villain, but still have some depth to him at times. But also like super greasy and just lying and like, yep, that's my daughter and this and that. And I love how they're just like, are you really?
Is this serious?
Is this? And then she just like, nah. And he's like, okay. Well.
I think that's one of the things like, in Fury Road, a lot of the depth to the characters, they don't say much. So you have to get a lot through their performances and why they are doing certain things. And I think this film kept that going, actually.
Yeah.
Where we learned certain things about the Dementis, but we don't learn a ton, to your point. Like, it's a lot of just what we see. It's not necessarily what we hear. And I think that definitely adds... Like for me, that makes me want to lean in and get that's probably why I enjoyed the film a lot. Like surprisingly, as much as the VFX did take me out, most of the time I was enjoying my experience because of those things. There's these details like these if I didn't care about the characters, the film probably wouldn't have worked for me. So so there's that aspect to it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, shit, man. What'd you think of Praetorian Jack and that whole thing and her like kind of, I mean, this is probably like maybe the biggest scene of the movie, I think, is the first kind of battle on the war rig where she gets revealed.
Which is fantastic, by the way.
And it's a good action scene, but the CGI is still like, that's one of the, like the flying little thing. Yeah. It's like, oh man, dude. And it still didn't top anything out of, say, Fury Road. And it didn't get pushed to the next level. Whatever that would be, I don't know. But
that's a great point.
I mean, maybe it kind of did. I don't know.
Let me think. Okay. So I was aware of some of the effects at that point. It didn't take me out of it because the editing, like I thought it was so seamless. I always knew where I was basically in relationship to the rig, which I think is important for that scene. Like you've got the dude who's actually inside of the damn thing, that person who is not going to make it. But you've also got underneath, which unfortunately looked a little fake at times, But at the same time, I'm like, oh, dude, this is so sick. This is why she's like it. That part is one of the few times it clicked to me in Fury Road why she's able to do what she does in Fury Road.
Yeah,
because she's learning how these things work.
Yeah,
this is where she's establishing herself, and I love that he just takes off. Jack just takes off without her, but then makes her this deal. I don't know, man. That's some of the stuff I love the most, actually, to be honest with you. I totally bought the relationship between the two. It's weird to see any sort of like affection until, Mad Max was really the only time we ever got like some affection between characters and stuff like that. That was, romantic in any sort. The way that they shoot the weapons, I don't know. The whole thing did work for me.
Yeah.
And they're using some things that we see in Fury Road on the vehicles and on the, I don't know what you call the what do you call the giant stick? The teeter totter. I don't know what the
pole vaulting.
Pole vaulting. There you go. Pole vaulting. That's what I want to say. So like that, all that stuff actually did work for me pretty well. I thought that stuff was great.
Yeah. This is where I wish I saw it again before recording. Now I kind of want to see it after this, but whatever. I mean, I'd agree with some of that. I do like the idea that she was just hiding out on the bottom with the motorcycle trying to see it, but then it all gets ruined.
Yeah.
And then it's left up to her.
Well, at first I wasn't sure if she was hiding there or if this is part of the plan. And then you realize, okay, they're calling commands to her and stuff like that. So they know she's down there and everything, but.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
I wasn't quite sure
if she was going to just like abandon
shit. That's what I was just the time where she escapes. That's one of the things interesting knowing about Fury Road. But then I'm like, she's not going to escape. We see her, she's going to become a hero in this group because in the back of I had forgotten that at times during the film.
Yeah.
So.
I did like that, and I buy it all. It makes sense. Like she knows everything about the rig. She's trying to escape, but now she's in a position because everyone's getting picked off. Where if this rig goes down, then she's gonna die.
Yeah.
So she has to save it. It's not even for anyone else. It's just like, well, I've got to survive now.
Yeah, totally.
And she knows what's up, so has to like repair it and fight alongside Praetorian Jack and all that. The only thing that was kind of weird, and I get it, like to an extent, that and this is another one of those weird editing moments where it's like, wait, how did we get here all of a sudden? So maybe I just got to watch it again. Where she's had the hideout for, I don't know how long it's been, 8 years, 10 years. Imposed as like a boy to escape them and all that.
The whole Mulan thing, yeah.
Yeah, but now that she is, what do you call it? Saving the rig, and everyone knows she's a chick now. It's just like, all right, cool. Well, you're promoted to like doing this, and we're not still gonna try to. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I bumped on that just a little bit, but we do see that there are women in the world who. If you remember down in the amongst the common people, there are women down there who aren't the people up in the safe.
Right.
So that part, I was like, okay, maybe they'd be okay with it. I did, but that's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
That like, okay. And maybe Joe doesn't remember that she was one of the people who was part of that. I mean, that's what it's implying, right? Because she escapes and everything. So I loved when they get to, is it Gastown? Where's all the sniper stuff happening? Is that in Gastown?
I think that was the bullet farm.
That's the bullet farm. Okay. That shit was sick, dude. With all the sniper rifles and everything. I was like, dude, this is really done well.
Yeah.
Once again, looked a little fake when Hemsworth is hanging off the thing. I'm like,
yeah.
I hate to keep bumping on it. It's such a stupid thing to bump on. But I think we live this is 2024. We live in a world where there are only certain things we can accept because this is how you have to impress us nowadays. And I hate that that's the thing. But
well, I think it's the fact too that it's like we know it can be done practically. Like they showed us it can happen.
It can be done, yes.
So when you go backwards like that, that's what gets me. It's like I know you can do this. Yeah. I know you can throw a guy off the
totally
the,
right.
You know?
Yeah, and do it safely. Like So one of the things I listened to a couple of interviews with some of the people making it, and Anya Taylor-Joy was talking about how like the safest set she's ever been on, and that's what we want to hear. We want to make sure people aren't risking their lives and everything. At the same time, I don't remember any reports coming out of Fury Road about anybody getting hurt or seriously injured or anything like that. So you told us you could do it. You know, so it's tough. Tough to accept it.
Yeah, it really is, man. What'd you think about when they get caught up? Which I kind of like that happened, that it doesn't just end happily.
No, man.
I mean, I think Praetorian Jack gets wrecked. That's really unfortunate. I don't quite like that she walked for like God knows how many miles through the desert with one arm just bleeding out.
Just bleeding out, yeah. So it's one of the few times where I felt, this is where I thought, I don't know, I felt like it was going a tad long, but I'm glad that it had a resolution that made sense. Like there was a payoff to it. Like, okay, can we just, like when we were going out to the desert, I'm like, oh, cool, we're going out to the desert again.
Yeah.
Kind of been there before. But we got somewhere and we did something different. And obviously, I mean, because I've seen Fury Road, I'm like, okay, there's no way Jack makes it because we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And how it goes down actually does seem to add some weight to why Furiosa ends up the way that she does, like we see in Fury Road. I think that it's funny and not funny. It's interesting the way that, we chase Jack until basically he drops and all that kind of stuff. It worked for me. Once again, there are some places where the movie feels like it's going a little long, and that was one of the places. So for me, I will say that I did see this in one of the Dolby theaters, and having the sound turned up to like 8,000 decibels or whatever definitely helped with the experience of the film. I didn't see it in IMAX because it wasn't shot in IMAX. So I was like, okay, if it's not intended to be that way, I understand they're blowing it up. It's probably going to be a good experience there too. But we've talked about it now, a couple different movies where the sound design is so important to it. It seems like it adds weight to like when the vehicles are chasing, Jack. I'm like, you feel the impending doom because they're shaking the seats with the bass and stuff like that. So that it adds some weight to there. That's helpful.
Yeah. What'd you think of the final montage that like now they're going to go to war and all of a sudden it's like the war lasted however much time and it's just a montage? That seemed kind of odd to me. I mean, I was ready for the movie to wrap up, so that's fine. But
now I'm like, what about a movie about the war?
Yeah.
Like that's exactly.
This seems interesting. Why are we just skipping this?
I'm glad that he made this film because I do think the Furiosa character is interesting enough to warrant a film like this. Like we know Max's origin story. Who knows what the hell these timelines are, but we know that there's an origin to Max. And so with a character as intriguing and as interesting as Furiosa is, it's cool to see that. Interestingly enough, Furiosa's origin story was not, for me, what was more interesting is seeing different aspects of the world. And so to your point where you're making, like, does it add any weight to those scenes when you see it in Fury Road? I didn't even think about that. I'm just like, oh, I get to experience different places of this post-apocalyptic Australia, you know? And I think that's the thing that I took away from this film and enjoyed the most, and the performance. I thought that just seeing these actors doing like this kind of work was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, damn, that's what's up.
We didn't talk too much about the vehicles, interestingly enough. Did it seem like there was anything like new in Vehicle Land?
Not really,
right?
And it seemed like some of it was maybe just more CGI, so maybe not. I don't know, but
the rig was different. But we've seen a war rig at this point. We saw Furiosa drive in Fury Road. You know, this one was cool. Cool shit to it, but at the same time, this is like a third rig, fourth rig. We've had one in Thunderdome, Fury Road, Road Warrior, and now this one. So, okay,
yeah.
They
didn't stick out to me that much.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Interesting enough, those are usually a thing, and not in this one.
Yeah, the only one that popped out was there's one monster truck that Dementis drives, which looks pretty cool.
I agree with you on that.
The chair, the motorcycle chariot
cool.
was crazy.
The chariot was fucking. Yeah, we talked about the chariot. That's right.
Outside of that though, like nothing really stood out in a.
They're still badass, by the way. They're still badass.
Yeah.
They're just there wasn't a ton of new stuff to this one. So
and it just doesn't feel like, and I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like, oh wow, these are all working cars that they literally built. Like in Fury Road,
dude,
you see it and you can tell
they have weight.
And you can watch the behind the scenes and know like they built every single one of these fucking cars. Like that's so crazy,
so wild.
I just didn't get that here.
I know Mr. Miller is, he's getting up there in age. I think he's 80 now. So I sure hope to hell that they find funding for one more because with him as the helm, because there is still, the guy's got a mastery of action that is so unique and so interesting and so well done that I just, as a fan, I would love to see one more, with him behind the helm, wherever he decides to take it. Sounds like he has ideas for it. So if he can find money for it, I hope he does, because I would love to see one more.
Yeah. I guess to wrap this up, ultimately I did, the ending when she's finally like one-on-one with Dementis went on way too long.
I agree.
And the like multiple stories of the ending, it's kind of interesting maybe, but I don't know.
I'm glad it wasn't handled. No, I agree with you. I think they could have wrapped it up quicker.
Yeah. They were just talking a little too, they just dragged it out too much. Dragged it out.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that one.
But yeah, I guess for me overall, like I thought the movie was pretty good. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad. I don't hate it or anything. It's not awful. I probably will see it again after this recording since I've got some time today before the next thing I got to do. 2.5. That's the only thing. I'm like, fuck, 2.5 hours is a lot.
I will tell you that if I had to like rank these things, I actually did enjoy this one a little bit more than Thunderdome. And I think the reason is because of the big screen experience. It's one of those, every single Mad Max film seems like it's one of those ones that should be experienced with as large a screen as you can get.
Well, so that was going to be my wrap-up question. Now that you've seen all of these, I've seen all of them, what would be your ranking of all the Mad Max movies?
I think you got to put for me, Fury Road is at the top. A Road Warrior is so close. Because of what those two at the very top, probably Fury Road. And then third would actually be this movie, Furiosa.
Okay.
And then Mad Max Thunderdome at the bottom.
Okay.
Actually, I think I might put Thunderdome above Mad Max, the original.
Okay.
Although that opening sequence is so goddamn good. It's just Mad Max is such a different movie than everything else.
Yeah.
It's so different. But it's tough to rank these. They're all, none of them suck. You're not going to be bored watching any of these. Do you have a ranking?
Yeah, I think for me, so Fury Road is top for sure. So number 1's Fury Road. Number 2's Road Warrior. Number 3, I think I'm going to go original Mad Max. I think I'm going to go part 1.
Yeah.
And then probably Furiosa and then Thunderdome.
Okay. That seems reasonable. I love the fact that they all exist because we get to experience just different places in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to make an open world video game of one of these. Just saying.
Oh, really?
That'd be dope because I love visiting this place. It's still to this day, it's got a unique place.
Yeah.
And it's got unique characters and unique aspects to it. And just the vehicles alone. Maybe I'm not a gearhead, but like the vehicles are fucking cool. So it's like, it's fun to see them doing their thing in a movie.
Hell yeah. All right, man. Well, I guess that's a wrap on this one. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the Pursuit United Double O Bourbon. That's a wrap. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Drinks in a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks in a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksinamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.